It's Matchday 23 picks edition of the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code PLGP to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm, the leader in data-driven picks and props. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome, everybody, to the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is Thursday, January the 23rd, and we are here to have a little look around the European games, which finished a few minutes ago, before we get stuck into a full weekend of Premier League action, which runs from Saturday lunchtime through to... There's a weird Sunday night game, isn't there? No Monday, but we've got a weird Sunday night. Joining me to get stuck into everything is somewhere in Nottinghamshire, Mr. Barry Penaluna. Barry, what's happening?
Not a lot, Malcolm. I've been on my deathbed for the last few days. I'm struggling.
You know, mate, that's about 4 times in 6 weeks. You're like, dot bottom. What's the matter with you?
I'm very rarely ill, me, Malcolm, but... I've had a bit of a chest infection, some sort of virus, hot and cold, and aches and headaches, and fucking no energy. And now I've just got a persistent cough to go with it as well, which is good. So I will keep popping myself on mute, and probably forgetting to take myself off mute, just so I can have my persistent coughing without everybody having to listen to it. But I've been rough as out this week, to be honest with you.
Oh, well, that's something to look forward to, Baz. You hacking your lungs up. Oh, there he goes. He's just put himself on mute. Now, if you get any good greeners, Baz, make sure you show everyone. Callum, Michael Lee, first in the chat. You three, welcome along. Nice to see John Joe Shelby back at Burnley. I really enjoyed the transfer reveal video they done for him. Did you see that, Baz? It was very good. They done it traitor style. Obviously, John Joe gets a bit of vampire reputation, doesn't he? With his general look, so they gave him the big black cloak and the traitor style head, and then revealed him. It was pretty funny. I enjoyed that. And then Burnley won 5-0 last night away from home, which was a thing. The midweek was very nearly just saved, and then ultimately ruined by Man United scoring in the 92nd minute. I prepared myself to talk about all the £34 notes that the bookies had given away on the Rangers double chance, because Rangers equalised right at the end, and then Man United went and snuck it, which is probably the reason Courtney and Patrick have piped up. Some bits and bobs for the week, Barry. I went on Tuesday to the cinema. Now, I don't think I've been to the cinema for about 13 years. I'm not a big picture goer, Barry, as you well know, but... do you want to have a guess what I went to see? You won't. I reckon you could pull this off, Baz.
I mean, I don't even know what's at the cinema. Wicked.
Oh, man. Fuck off, Barry. Megan Walk, I went to watch the new Bob Dylan film, Barry. Come on. Bob Dylan's my absolute hero. He might be my second best person, actually. What's it called? A Complete Unknown with Timothy Chalamet, etc. And it was just brilliant, Baz. I had a lovely time. There was only 7 people in the entire cinema, but it was all my favourite songs, pretty much sung in the style that you wanted them to be sung. So I enjoyed it a lot. So that was good. No snacks were had, Barry. I'm at the age now. I had a cup of coffee. I had no popcorn, no sweets, no nothing. A cup of coffee. And Saturday, I'm going out to football. I'm going to watch Gateshead v Oldham Athletic in the National League. On Saturday, because, Baz, if you remember, I don't know if you do actually, well, I lived in Worcester a lifetime ago. I used to drink in a place called the Crown and Anchor the whole time, and I mean the whole time, like from dawn till dusk, every day pretty much. And there was a lad who used to sit in there, and I don't even know where he came from, but he was always in there. He was the first one in, He was the last one out. He was a bit of a bum, Baz. And that's kind of why he appealed to me. He was probably the most similar person to me I've ever met. He was an absolute rogue. He went large swathes of time with no money at all, would just drink orange squash. But then all of a sudden, he'd find some money, generally from gambling, and go on like a 4-day bender where you'd be scraping him off the tarmac. And I always liked him. I still think in my life, the amount of time I've spent with people, I reckon he's in the top 10. Because we sat in that pub for 150 hours a week for about 10 years. Turns out, he was always an Oldham Athletic fan. I've lost touch with him. I haven't seen him since 2002. Happened to pop up on Twitter this week saying he's going to Gateshead Oldham on Saturday. So I immediately messaged him and said, get me a ticket. Let's go and have shenanigans. So I'm meeting Phil on Saturday, like I say, 2002, last time I seen him. So hopefully we'll need scraping off the tarmac together. But he was an absolute shyster. He appealed to me a lot. Can't imagine you've got much crack, Barry, if you've been poorly.
No crack. I've barely moved from the city. In fact, some days I haven't even made it to the city. I've just stayed in bed for about 20 hours. So yeah, very little in the way of crack, I'm afraid. Which is
that's all right. I found the Champions League pretty tricky this week. We both did, Baz. But I think probably everybody did. In fact, all my picks, I would make them all again. And that includes the 2 Europa League picks tonight, because we talked about Rangers double chance, which we got there in 92nd minute. We talked about fading Tottenham. I put out a little video on YouTube earlier on, wanting to fade Tottenham, and I would fade them. In fact, they were 2-0 up at half-time, and I backed Hoffenheim again at 18-1. That's how confident I was, because Tottenham was still shit. I backed over 4.5 goals, which landed, and I backed Hoffenheim, even though they were 2-0 down, because they're still wide open. The Liverpool pick, Lille had a man sent off and a massive deflection. I felt that was a bit unlucky. Villa were rubbish. In fact, Villa was the one. Villa was the bad pick. I'll give you that. Villa were rubbish. Bratislava goals hit, and I did give out the correct score in that, actually. I said that Stuttgart would win 3-1. Lorena, I meant to notice that on Twitter, actually. Lorena Carrera. So welcome, and thanks for spotting that, Lorena. And I actually got paid on Manchester City. So I finished ahead on the week, because sometimes you finish on the right side of the old 2-0 up offer. So I was delighted with myself at 2-0, got paid out, and then PSG won. So all in all, officially 1-3 bars, but I just thought it was a tricky week all round. I mean, Celtic, I think you probably failed on goals, but I don't know, Celtic didn't score 10 times. They had 3 goals disallowed and missed a penalty. The Benfica-Barcelona game was nuts. We were right to kind of leave it alone, because you thought they were beat. There was quite a few false finals. Feyenoord beat Munich 3-0 with 3 shots on target to 15 by Bayern Munich. So I think it was quite hard, kind of all over the place, Baz. I mean, how did you get on with it?
Yeah, so I had 1 winner from 4 as well, same as you. But like you, I would take the same picks again. I just a whisker on everything. I felt like I hit the post on all the ones that lost. So Celtic I had in the handicap. How that didn't come in, I will never know. I had Dortmund team total, score 2 goals. They scored in the 15th minute, and nothing after that. So that was a bit of a disappointment. And the other one, over 3.5 goals in the Bayern game. I mean, Feyenoord getting 3 of them should be home and host, shouldn't they? All you need is a Bayern goal against Feyenoord. So that let me down. So again, 1 goal away on everything that lost. And then the one that hit for me was Man City, because that took the team total. It was my safer way of playing Man City. And that turned out to be a sensible way of playing it in the end.
Fair enough. Joe Bamber's joined us. Joe, welcome. Not seen you for a little while. And Captain Insano, aye, Captain. Hopefully gearing up for the MLB season, Captain Insano. That's around the corner. I've been drafting this week, got my first best ball drafts, etc. going for MLB. So looking forward to getting the ball rolling over there on the grind on the MLB Gambling podcast. We'll crack on with these Premier League picks. We'll let Barry return to his deathbed. So we'll go a little bit faster. In honour of the big game, the Super Bowl, I'm guessing, from now until the 9th of February, there's 15% everything in the merch store. You can get one of these delightful hoodies if you want. So that's 15% off. The promo code is Big Game over there. And DraftKings, obviously helping everyone through the playoffs, touchdowns and all sorts of things to play there on DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning the playoffs. You can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Try betting on something simple like a player to score 6. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. My play over there this week is going to be Travis Kelce. He's kind of obvious. He was plus 175 last week and landed. And he's after the record. They'll get in the red zone. They'll use him. They'll want to get the record. And he's still plus 130. So the books have adjusted, but haven't adjusted much. So DraftKings Sportsbook over there for your Travis Kelce. Anytime touchdown will be the play there.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
Joe says he has to wake up in 6 hours to watch tennis. And by watch, I assume he means bet on. But you don't have to, Joe. As that nice man from DraftKings just said. You could always not. But I appreciate the grind. Vincent Company's catching a lot of strays. Thick as pig shit is the official line we're getting in the chat. This week, Barry. And I forgot to tell you, Baz. I bought something today. Something which Newcastle is very well known for. The northeast of England generally is a hot spot for these. I'll send you a picture, Barry. I bought a massive palm tree. There's not enough palm trees in the northeast, Baz, is there? It's an absolute beauty as well. Whisper it quietly. I told the missus it was much less money than it actually was. So don't let run for that. But yeah, I told a massive fib there. I'll show you. Yeah. So I've got this palm tree just in time for storm, whatever it's called, to kill it tomorrow. So yeah, I'll send you that. Well, my phone's not working, but I'll send you that, Baz. Keep your eye out. We'll enjoy that.
Thank you very much.
All my picks, Barry, are really boring. I made the picks yesterday afternoon. I adjusted one today, and then I got to the end and I looked back at them, and they're just all boring. They're all between 4-5 and 5-4. I couldn't find a fun underdog. I couldn't find anything. So I don't really know why. It might just be one of those weeks. There was no money line plays that stood out. I had to cobble together quite a few bits and bobs, like same game parlays and stuff. But I did find it a little bit tricky. And like I say, my picks are just dead boring. I might go 6-4 and end up on 12 units. But there's just nothing. There's nothing big and fancy in there, Baz. How did you find it? I've sent you my palm tree, Baz. Have you seen that?
I've just seen it pop up there. There was a few games where I would quite happily have not made a pick. That's a big tree, that, Malcolm. I should have pointed out, actually, at the beginning, Malcolm, I have the slow roller still rolling.
Rolling. I
assume you're all over it. So, yeah, keep tuned to the end for the next instalment of the slow roller.
Well, that's write it down.
We've got £19.60.
What was it? Leipzig and PSG over 1.5 goals. Up to 1960.
Yeah.
Easy game, isn't it? Easy game. Right, we will start on Saturday. Saturday lunchtime. And, I mean, you could call this one of the games of the weekend. Might be second in, if you want to class Man City and Chelsea. I don't know. No early kickoff, actually. So we're straight into the 3 o'clocks, which is 10 a.m. Eastern time. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 3 o'clock kickoffs, starting with Bournemouth taking on Nottingham Forest. Bournemouth are 21-20 plus 105. The draw is 27-10 plus 270. Forest is 12-5 plus 240. Instant problem. This sort of summed up how I felt about the whole card, because I saw Bournemouth first hand last week, absolutely dismantle Newcastle. They were brilliant. And I also said that on the show that Forest weren't very good. So those two things would lead you sort of instinctively to picking Bournemouth, but I didn't really want to. either. Forest are really hard to beat. And I think they're going to give Bournemouth a problem here. Bournemouth injuries might just catch up with them as well. They had nothing at all on the bench last week, but they didn't need it. They got ahead. Everything went to plan. We saw Eddie Howe use the excuse that Newcastle were maybe a little bit gassed last week. If Bournemouth keep having to roll out this same team, then that might cause them a little problem. But Forest, 8 games unbeaten. I looked at the double chance, but it was a little bit too short for Forest. But Bournemouth's last 4 home games, I was surprised to notice, all finished under 2.5 goals. You normally associate Bournemouth with high-scoring games, wide-open games at both ends, but 4 home games in a row under 2.5 goals. And Forest are really good at frustrating teams, sitting in, trying to hit them on the break. So that's the angle I want to pick. Like I say, this was an example of just a game that I found tough. But under 2.5 is even money, Baz. So we'll go under 2.5 there. Joe wants both teams to score. It's his lock of the week, BTT. Yes, so we'll have to take the 1-1 draw, Joe, if we're both going to cash, Baz.
Yeah, I'm with Joe. I think we might need a 1-1 here when we get to my pick in a moment. Yeah, it is a tasty one to start the week off with. 2 of the form sides in the league currently. Bournemouth unbeaten in 11 now, and Forest unbeaten in 9. And 8 wins for Forest in their run as well. 8 wins out of 9. Was very impressed with Bournemouth last week. That said, they do have a lot of injuries. And the price for Forest did stand out. 5-2 for a team that's won 8 of the last 9. Does look appealing. A few things in the chat suggesting Forest are an attractive price as well. Michael agrees with that. No surprises to know it's not where I've ended up going, though, given that I've just talked for weeks about having dodged Forest because I keep thinking there'll be some sort of regression. And I just keep getting Forest wrong. And I'll probably continue to get them wrong again, but I wasn't prepared to back them. But I do think the 5-2 or 12-5, whatever you can get on them is a reasonable price. They look the better side of it, the better value, I think, at the prices. I think I decided against taking either side here because I think it's hard to fade either of them in their current form. So I've ended up going exactly the same place as Joe. Both teams to score to kick things off for me. I know Forest have had plenty of clean sheets recently, but Bournemouth have scored in 14 of their last 15. And Forest themselves have only been shut out twice in their last 15 games as well. Man City and Arsenal, those two sides who kept Forest quiet. So it is a short price to start off with, but my pick here will be both teams to score between Bournemouth and Forest at 7-10.
Okay, 7-10 minus 142 for Baza. We move on. 3 o'clock kickoff is Brighton and Hove Albion will take on Everton. Brighton are 4-6 minus 150. The draw is 11-4 plus 275. Everton 9-2 dogs plus 450. Barry.
Yeah, bit of a turnaround for both teams in recent weeks. Brighton had failed to win in 8 in a row and have now found themselves on a 3-game winning streak. And unbeaten in 7. They did have a lot of draws in that 8-game winless streak as well. Everton also bounced back into the win column last week and probably more astonishingly scored 3 goals in the process. And the first thought is how much do you take from that Everton win? Or how much do you put it down to Spurs issues? And I do feel like the Brighton revival seems to have a bit more substance to it than Everton's does off the back of one win against an out of sorts Spurs side. But then 4-6 is a little bit short for Brighton. Or is it? I think if we'd been looking at this before Everton went and beat Spurs last week, I'd have probably thought 4-6 was fair enough. The 3-2 for Everton was the first game to go over 2.5 goals for a while. They'd had 7 in a row under 2.5 before that. Brighton won the reverse fixture 3-0. And I'm just not ready to trust Everton after one game, as I say. So I wanted Brighton on my side. I decided I'm a bit worried about the low scoring. But Brighton being a little bit short, I've had to tag something on to get them to a price. I've taken Brighton and over 1.5 goals here. at even money. It's not my favourite pick. It was one of the games where I came to it and I thought I would quite happily leave this one alone if I'm honest. But yeah,
what price did you say that was? 8 to 11.
It's even money. They're
Even
about,
money, oh,
yeah, they're 4-6 to win the game. If you tag on, yeah, I mean, the risk is Everton can defend, can't they? But yeah, Brighton and over 1.5 goals at even money would be my pick here.
Right, you are going to lol, Barry, as the young people would say at my pick. My pick here is a fucking disgrace, can I just point out? I'm not proud of it. If everyone decides to vote me off the show, I fully understand it. I've brought it on myself. You said Everton won last week, but do you trust it? And it's the Spurs angle because it was Dr. Tottenham. And they did still manage to lose the second half of that game 2-0, by the way. Back-to-back wins for Brighton after 4 draws in a row. They were good at Man United. Hard to read anything into that. Struggling with patterns in over or unders in both teams to score. The Everton win doesn't count. Like I say, they did lose the second half 2-0. And I much prefer Brighton. And 4-6 is a tiny bit short. Same as you, Barry. 4-6 is a tiny bit short. So I've added something on the same as you. I've gone for right. You just went through all the under 2.5. Didn't you? Stop laughing. I can see Everton. I can't see Everton being involved in another shootout, Baz. So Brighton to win in under 5 goals is 9-10 minus 111. The less said about that, the better. Is that in any way acceptable, Barry?
I considered the same option, to be honest. Yeah. I do like Brighton, but 4-6. We never put a 4-6 out. That crosses a line for us, doesn't it? So you've got to do something else.
I mean, my pick's cheating. I feel like I don't know why yours seems to be a bit more legitimate. I feel like I've just tagged something on for the hell of it. But Everton involved in a 5-goal game is they're like hen's teeth. So yeah, we'll stick with it, Buzz. If it's a winner at the end of the day, winner. 3:00 on Saturday is Liverpool taking on Ipswich. Liverpool are the shortest jollies on the card at 1-10 minus 1,000. The draw is 11-1. Ipswich Town are 14-1. 2 more wins for Liverpool this week against Brentford with a very, very late show, and against Lille in the week. And again, I don't think they were particularly impressive in either game. Brentford game could have gone either way, and they needed injury time to do it. Lille, they played, 35 minutes with 10 men and took a massive deflection to get it done there. There's lots of teams that I would fancy to give Liverpool a game this weekend, but Ipswich aren't one of them. Back-to-back defeats for Ipswich. And what's worse, really, was very poor performances. They were pretty lifeless against Manchester City last week, 6-0, which can happen. But the one before that against Brighton, the home defeat against Brighton, was poor as well. The last 4 times that they've lost Ipswich, they haven't scored. Assuming they're going to lose this one, that stat is good enough for me. Liverpool to win to 0, Baz. So Liverpool to win without Ipswich scoring is 5-6 minus 120.
Yeah, so the books aren't giving anything away here on Liverpool, so it is hard to get to something if you fancy Liverpool. And understandably why they're so short, given the way Ipswich fell apart last week against City. Liverpool have still not lost a league game since September. Haven't been hugely convincing recently with draws against Man United, Forest, late win against Brentford. More convincing wins did come prior to those against West Ham, 5-0, 6-3 against Spurs. So there is a potential if Ipswich turn up like they did last week. It's not out of the realms of possibility they could be in for a bit of a thrashing again. I mean, like you, there are teams where I would have potentially took them, been prepared to take Liverpool on, but I just couldn't get there with Ipswich. And it's something we try and do, like occasionally, where a team gets to a price like this, 14-1 for Ipswich. You think, right, how can I sort of try and get something out of that? But it just doesn't feel like a game where I'd want to take Liverpool on. Liverpool won the reverse fixture 2-0 early in the season. And you've just mentioned Ipswich have failed to score in the last 4 defeats. So 4 of their last 6 games now have seen them fail to score. So I did look at Liverpool win to 0 as well. That was on my radar. At the same price, I didn't mind Liverpool to win both halves either. The worry was the fact that, and it's played into my mind a little bit on a few of these games, is the sort of midweek fixtures and some of the lower teams haven't had a sort of fresher week. Players haven't had a rest. I know Newcastle sent their players off away for a few days break and things. So Ipswich come into it a bit fresher was my only concern about taking Liverpool to win by tons. I ended up landing on goals here. Over 2.5 is really short. It's 1-4. Over 3.5 is 4-6. But I can get a fair price here on 2 of those goals coming in the first half. I think this could be a comfortable win for Liverpool. And in those big wins recently for Liverpool over like West Ham and Spurs, where they got tons of goals, they scored 3 in the first half of each of those two. I was looking initially at Liverpool goals. Over 1.5 Liverpool goals in the first half is 11-10. But just to keep Ipswich on my side, just in case Liverpool are a little bit rusty after a midweek outing, I'm going to take the over 1.5 match total, first half goals. Over 1.5 first half goals between Liverpool and Ipswich. It's 4-5.
I like that, Baz. Lee's getting a bit cocky in the chat there. Lee said, we're definitely going to take Liverpool to win both halves or Liverpool to win to 0. So I took Liverpool to win to 0, and then you mentioned Liverpool to win both halves. There is a couple, I do listen to a couple of betting shows when I'm out and about in the van, and I always guess what they're going for. It's like people that you've listened to for ages, or even before the game comes on, say, yeah, I know what he's picking there. I know he's picking Chiefs -1.5 or whatever it is. So I'll play that game as well, Lee, but don't get too cocky, son. 3 o'clock kickoff is Southampton taking on Newcastle United. Southampton are 6-1. The draw is 21-4 plus 425. And Newcastle are 2-5, Baz, -250.
Yeah, Southampton now lost 5 in a row and 8 of their last 10. Conceded 11 in their last 3 games as well. They had shown a little bit of signs of tightening up a bit when Jovic, the manager, arrived. They had that 0-0 with Fulham. They lost just 1-0 to West Ham and a 2-1 to Palace. But they've really started to drop off again defensively in recent weeks. As I say, conceding 11 in the last 3 games now. And I think it just looks like a good opportunity for Newcastle to get back on track and back in the sort of good scoring form they were in before last week's game against Bournemouth. Newcastle ground out 1-0 in the fixture earlier in the season, but as we know, 10 men for most of the game after Shaw was sent off in the first half. Pantomime villain that day being Brereton Diaz, who won't be involved as they've sent him off to the Championship where he belongs. Do you know he still hasn't won a Premier League game in his career, despite 2 stints in the Premier League? I think he's played about 28 games and he hasn't won a single one.
Big ticks that he is.
So there you go. Good riddance to him. I don't mind Newcastle on the handicap here, -1.5. Plus money here, though, for Newcastle to score 3 or more, 6-5. Southampton have played 22 games this season, like everybody else, and they've conceded 3 or more on 11 occasions this season already. And before last week, Newcastle had been hitting 3 or more fairly regularly. I think 5 of the previous 8 games, Newcastle had hit at least 3 goals. So that's where I went. Newcastle team total, over 2.5 goals at 6-5.
I've got the same pick, Baz. Exactly the same pick. I've got it down here as 11-10. I didn't want to factor Southampton in. They had a little fight back second half against Forest last week, but they were 3-0 down. It's half time. Tall Paul scored. Enjoyed that. They've conceded 11 in the last 3. And at home, so far this season, they've conceded 3 against Liverpool, 5 v Chelsea, 5 v Brentford, 3 v Man United, 5 v Tottenham, 3 v Leicester. So the clues are there. Newcastle did hit a bump in the week last week against Bournemouth, but you couldn't wish for a better opportunity to bounce back. So I think they built up enough credit during the winning run for us to go back one more time. If they turn in another stinker this weekend, we might have to reconsider. But yeah, Newcastle team total over 2.5 at 11-10 plus 110 for me. Next up is the final 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon game between Wolverhampton Wanderers and Arsenal. Wolves are 11-2. plus 550. The draw is 7-2 plus 350. Arsenal are 9-20 minus 222. Wolves weren't terrible against Chelsea on Monday night. But I think the result was just about fair enough. Wolves did get back into it at half time. They played well in sort of patches, but there was no real argue. One of the big issues around Wolves at the minute is the transfer saga of Cunha causing a little bit of a distraction. Because I think Cunha, the player himself, is making a little bit of a noise. He's still got 2.5 years left on his contract. So there's no real reason for any of this to be going on. And the club have said staunchly that he won't be going anywhere. And that should be the end of it, whether it is or not, because he is a huge factor in what Wolves do. The new manager bounce has worn off a little bit after they won the first couple of games. But you still get the feeling you want to take Arsenal on. They're still drawn too many games. They've conceded now 4 games in a row, and Wolves have scored in 5 games in a row. Both teams to score is a workable price here, Baz. It's 9-10, minus 111. Wolves normally give teams a good game at home. I think BTTS is the angle here. 9-10, minus 111.
Yeah, well, as you know, I've done very well lately opposing Arsenal in certain spots. Villa double chance last week, Brighton double chance against them the week before. I wasn't even slightly tempted here, though, I'm afraid. The time to take out Arsenal is when they're playing top half opposition, which we've talked about a few times in recent weeks. Against these sort of sides down the bottom end, Arsenal managed just fine. And I think Wolves could be in a little bit of turmoil. You've mentioned the Cunha situation. His head's been turned. He was called out by Pereira in front of the cameras last week for his attitude. We've also got Lamina, who's refusing to play because he wants to move. So he's out of the squad for the time being as well. And it just seems like all might not be well behind the scenes at Wolves at the minute. And add to that, they've just conceded 3 goals in each of their last 3 Premier League games. So I didn't feel it boded well for them here. Arsenal have stuttered lately. That's mainly down to a lot of draws against half-decent sides. I think they'll win this one, and I think they can cover the handicap. So we'll need a 3-1 for you to cover it. But as I say, Wolves have been conceding 3s regularly. I'll take Arsenal on the handicap, minus 1.5 at 5-4.
Okay. Not thrilled about that, Baz. Okay, it is time, Barry, with a highlight. Everyone's highlight of the week. Battleships. Back-to-back episodes, Barry, of miss. So, lead us off, Baz.
Right. D2.
What?
D2.
E2.
D.
That
D for
is
Delta.
a white dobber, Barry, which means miss.
Are you listening to me? Hold on. What did you think I said?
E. E for
D.
egg.
D for Delta.
D for Delta. That's a fucking miss as well.
Okay.
Well,
scored an extra one there, haven't I?
Miss there, don't you? It's a bit of a swizz. Let's get me jotter out. Let's have a look. Well, remember, I've got 2 of your flotilla are ablaze, Barry, here. Right in the middle. E5.
Miss.
Bollocks. 3 in a row. Miss. It's exciting stuff. Hang on. Put me jotter away. We move on to a 5:30 kickoff. Possibly the game of the week if Bournemouth and Forest isn't it, between Manchester City and Chelsea. Man City are 21-20. A little bit of line movements here. Man City were 9-10, minus 111 before the PSG game. They've now drifted to 21-20 plus 105. The draw 31-10 plus 310. And Chelsea 11-4 plus 275. But
yeah, I mean, well, the Man City revival was short-lived, wasn't it? Well and truly derailed last night. That bonkers second half against PSG. I noticed this week City have started spending again. Now things have gone a little bit pear-shaped. They've opened the wallet and chucked about 120 million at things so far. So let's see how that turns out for them. Impossible to back City here, I thought, in a tricky game. And the form they're in, I just even at even money, City at home even money in the past would have been an absolute lock. But no confidence for me here. I think City are vulnerable. I think Chelsea will smell blood here and are definitely capable of getting something. The tricky thing is you can't really trust Chelsea either. The fact that they've won only one of their last 6 games in the league now means you can't really take them. So whilst I'm more drawn to Chelsea at the prices, I do feel a safer play is probably to go for goals. Chelsea have just hit over 3.5 in their last 2 games. And City have had 5 in all competitions go over 3.5. And their last 3 in the league have all gone over 3.5 goals. So that's why I've went over 3.5 as evens, which will be my main pick here. I also like both teams to score twice. Just over 2-1. So both teams over 1.5 goals each. I think we'll have something like a 2-2 with 3-3. I think this could have a few goals in it. So I'll have a little dabble on the both teams to score 2 or more as well. Just a touch over 2-1.
This was the game, Baz, that I did change my mind on. I made these notes Wednesday afternoon before Man City PSG. And I was tempted, I was seduced by that price of Manchester City at the time, having come off the big win against Ipswich. I know they've beaten some bad teams, but they did look like they were back at it. And then I watched that game, and that coupled with the result at Brentford, where they've thrown away a 2-goal lead right at the death, meant I couldn't pull the trigger. And obviously the books have adjusted, felt the same. The key to me was I looked at the Chelsea team total. One of the system plays we had when Man City were in the middle of their slump was the opposition team total. Do you want to have a little guess, Baz, on what price the Chelsea team total over 1.5 is? Did you look at it?
I did, yeah. It was a big price. It's not far off 2-1, is it? 13-8 or something?
No, it was the opposite. It was even money, Barry.
What, for this game?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
Just double check that, but yeah. Chelsea team total over 1.5 is... Yeah, it's even money, sitting there at even money, which I thought was an astonishing price. And that led me to goals. That led me down the same path as you. Because if Chelsea are a coin toss to score twice, then match goals has got to be the option. Because then it brings in all those correct scores that you just mentioned, the 2-2s, the 3-3s, 3-1 Chelsea, 3-1 City, all sorts of things. And I've got the same pick as you, Baz. Over 3.5 total goals is round about even money. You can get plus 102 if you're across the pond and want that extra little bit of juice. Well, yeah, that's exactly where I landed, Baz. Let me tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em has got one of the biggest menus for all sports. Underdog is always making it easier to win with profit boosts and gimme pick'ems, NFL, college basketball, MMA, NBA, and NASCAR. You can use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. I think we're looking at Dawson Knox higher on the receiving yards this week on Underdog. Our code is PLGP to claim a special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code PLGP. And SGPN's partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds, build your own model, copy one of the top-performing models from the leaderboard, or have Rhythm build a model for you. Talking about the AI there, Baz, in Rhythm, I don't know if anyone's noticed on the on our show descriptions, wherever you listen to this show, whether it's Apple or Spotify or what have you. I used to write the show descriptions, and they were about 28 words long and really quite unenthusiastic. I got AI to do it the last twice, and they've turned out like Homer's Odyssey. So they're about 400 words long, although AI insists on calling us the dynamic duo, Barry. And I'm not sure. Yeah. Have you ever been labelled as dynamic, Max, in your life?
No.
I mean, I have been. I'm quite a dynamic young man. But certainly you're not. It just made me laugh a little bit. So next time I'll tell them to take the dynamic out. Next game on the card is... Well, we're on to Sunday now. Yeah. 2 p.m. kickoffs, which is 9 a.m. Eastern time. The first of which is Crystal Palace and Brentford. Crystal Palace are 21-20. plus 105. The draw 11-4 plus 275. And Brentford 23-10 plus 230. This is 12th versus 11th, so it's a bang mid-table clash. If you bear in mind, Palace didn't win their first game until Dr. Tottenham visited them. On match day 9, the 27th of October, was when Palace won their first game. And then up to 12th. So it's been a pretty decent run of form for Palace. They've won 3 of the last 5. They've only lost 1 in 11. 4 out of those last 5 have gone under 2.5. Brentford, in your head, they're doing all right. I think maybe the late comeback against City sort of clouds a little bit the fact that they've only won 1 in 7, and that was against Southampton, which, as we know, doesn't count. And they're rubbish away from home. I'm happy to take Palace here. Brentford are playing with the bigger boys here. Palace are going to bully them. Palace 21-20 plus 105, straight up money line, Bass.
Well, they're on the opposite side of things, yeah. Because, well, I'll tell you why in a moment. Palace remain in good form, 5 games unbeaten, and just 1 defeat in 11 now. And Brentford's form does look to be the exact opposite. They've got just 1 win in the last 9 in all competitions. Though they'll have seen some positives in the 2-2 against Man City, coming back late on, and almost hanging out for a draw against Liverpool last week. A couple of tough games where they did give a reasonable account of themselves. The other thing I wanted to factor in with Brentford's recent form is their schedule. It's been absolutely horrible. They've faced 8 top half sides in the last 9 games. The only bottom half side they've played is Southampton, who they beat. And they've played all of the top 6, all of the current top 6 in the last 8 games as well. Brentford aren't as bad as their recent form suggests. They've just had a horrible run of games. Palace sit behind them in the league, and their unbeaten streak is padded out with a lot of draws as well. So I didn't want to get Palace. Yeah, they've had 9 draws already this season. I like Brentford, exact opposite to you. I've got Brentford at 23-10. I'm going to take them as my pick. As I say, I think the recent form is skewed a little bit by the fixtures they've had. But I also thought if you wanted to go a little bit safer and you wanted to go complete opposite to you, Brentford double chance at 8-11, I think looks an absolute gift. I don't fancy Palace at all. But my main pick's just going to be Brentford. Brentford outright, 23-10 to beat Palace.
Yeah, well, absolutely no use to anybody there. Michael wants the Eze goal or assist at 11-10, 5 games in a row. That one is hit. Callum is questioning the AI's use of the term expert guidance in the show description. Callum, this is fucking expert guidance here. We are expertly guiding you through these fixtures, so shut your face. 2 o'clock, Tottenham Hotspur take on Leicester City. Tottenham are 9-20, minus 222. The draw is 21-4, plus 425. Leicester are 21-4, plus 425. Baz.
Yeah, Spurs at less than 1-2. Oof, that's not for me, that. I am not having that. No, 1 win in 10 league games and lost 5 of the last 6. The 1 win, though, did come against Southampton, which you could say is a bit of a comparison, and it was a convincing 5-0 win as well. Given Leicester's current form, Spurs should certainly be winning this one. But yeah, not at these sort of prices. Leicester have now lost 7 in a row. Failed to score in 5 of the 7 as well. That was one thing they were doing under Cooper early in the season. I remember bringing up a few times. They were never failing to score. They weren't winning many games, but at least they were scoring and giving themselves a chance. Now they've stopped scoring, got no chance. And as a result, they've lost, as I say, 7 games in a row. 6 of them have come by a 2-goal margin. But do I fancy Spurs in a handicap? No, thank you. I'm not having that either. I just don't trust Spurs to keep a clean sheet against anyone. So I found this one really tricky. I think Spurs will probably win it, but I just couldn't find anything that looked any kind of value. And that all stems from the starting price for Spurs at less than 1-2. So I found a stats pick I like, which is what we do when we can't find a normal pick. Son, shots on target. He's hit at least 2 in 3 straight games now. And he's hit at least 2 in 5 of his last 6 starts. His average is over 2 per game anyway. Solanke's not there now. He's out injured, which gives Son a bigger piece of the action. Over 1.5 shots on target. for Son is 10-11. That's going to be my pick here. Son shots on target over 1.5 at 10-11.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, he was heavily involved tonight. Son for Tottenham. James Mafia has joined us. James, how are we doing? The first thing that struck me when I looked at this game was just the terrible price on Leicester, which tells you how bad. It's a real reflection of how bad Tottenham are. Because Leicester should be out at 10-1. They should have been the biggest dogs of the week. They should be out there where Ipswich are. But just a shade over 4-1 for a team who haven't scored since Pussy was a kitten to go and knock Tottenham over is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, 1 win in 10 again, Southampton. Lost 5 of the last 6. Still scoring, but they do find all different ways of fucking it up. I watched them tonight, Baz, and they were dog shit. I backed them tonight. I went out with Liam. I made a fool of myself on YouTube and on Twitter and in the Discord, actually. I got the trifecta up by touting Tottenham, by touting Hoffenheim all over the place. But I would do it again tomorrow because they were crap. And they tried their very best to give it away in the second half again today. We like Leicester being rubbish under Van Nistelrooy. We all agree that's funny. They've lost 7 in a row, 6 on the handicap, and they're not scoring goals. So loads of trends offset here. But it's the Dr. Tottenham angle, Baz. Leicester have only scored twice in 7 games. Tottenham, I love this bet. Absolutely adore this bet. And I've got another one to add on to it later on. Leicester to score in the first half is 5-4 plus 125. There is no way Tottenham can go through a half of football and not concede a goal. They did it against Everton last week, who never score. But they conceded 3 in the first half. I don't care who they're playing. There is no way they can get to half time having not conceded. I'm telling you now, it's impossible. Leicester to score in the first half is 5-4 plus 125. I reckon Jordan Ayew will slide one in, Baz. That's what's going on there. Next up is a 4:30 kickoff, 11:30 Eastern time on Sunday between Aston Villa and West Ham United. Aston Villa are 11-20, minus 180. The draw 16-5 plus 320. West Ham 19-4 plus 475. Don't like this game at all, really. A huge part of that was watched Villa on Tuesday. I watched the first half before I went to the pictures. And they never got going against Monaco. Monaco got the first goal, which makes a difference to the game. But Villa never really got going. And they had been in better form lately. They'd won 2 in a row and then got the good draw at Arsenal. They are more reliable at home, where they've won 6 and drawn 4 of 11. And against the bottom half teams, they've won 5 and drawn 2 at home. But there's just something about this game that I don't really trust Villa. I think they're too short. I wouldn't be backing them. I can't factor them into a handicap or anything like that. Now, West Ham have lost 3 and 4, and the win was a lucky one against Fulham. So I don't really want to factor West Ham into winning either. Potter hasn't really got the tools to do the job yet. Jared Bowen's back in training this week for West Ham, which is a huge plus. We just talked about which player did we talk about earlier on? Cunha for Wolves being important. Jared Bowen's kind of got that thing going on for West Ham. So West Ham have conceded 15 in 4. Aston Villa very rarely keep a clean sheet. I don't trust either side, but I think we'll see some goals here. I've taken the over 3.5 goals. That's 7-4 plus 175, Baz.
Yeah, so I was like you, sort of first thoughts coming into it. I've got no love for Villa at the moment, and they have lost just 1 of the last 6 league games now. But I haven't seen much in that run that gets me excited about Villa at a price like 8-15 against anyone at the moment. That tight wins against Everton and Leicester, who are struggling at the bottom, that doesn't inspire anyone. Draws against Arsenal and Brighton look okay, I suppose. But I just don't feel like they're anywhere near the levels of last year. And you do wonder if they're suffering a little bit from the overload of games this season with Champions League football. They have played midweek this week, losing to Monaco, as you've mentioned. Now, West Ham lost to an informed Palace team last week, which is obviously poor result for them. They've had heavy defeats to Man City and Liverpool recently as well. Did have a good win in between that against Fulham, which could be a reasonable comparison here. These two did play a couple of weeks ago in the FA Cup as well, so we did see this fixture not long ago. Villa did run out 2-1 winners in the Cup. But what drew me in here is Villa's record after playing midweek in the European Cup games. In 6 previous games, so before this week, in the 6 games following the Champions League game, they've won only one of them, the very first one. They've lost the last 3 straight as well, coming in off a Champions League game in midweek. And it was that reason, and also the fact that I haven't really been impressed with Villa lately. I think Villa are worth taking on. I'm getting double chance West Ham here at 11-8. I just think it looks better value than the 8-15 on Aston Villa. So yeah, particularly because of the record coming off European games, it isn't good. So I'll take West Ham double chance against Villa at 11-8. I
love that angle, Baz. I love the post-Europe angle in as well. You're absolutely right. That was my feeling as well. I just, for some reason, I just didn't want to get involved in Aston Villa in this spot at all. The final game on the card is a weird 7 o'clock on Sunday night kickoff, which is 2 p.m. Eastern time between Fulham and Manchester United. Fulham are 13-10 plus 130. The draw 12-5 plus 240. Manchester United are 2-1. Baz, finish us off with a winner.
Well, there's only 2 options, isn't there? Because there's one of 2 bets every week when we come up against Manchester United. They've got 1 win in 8, and that was a lucky one against Southampton, who very nearly got something off them. 5 defeats in 8. That doesn't include tonight, obviously. But who cares? We're only playing Scottish minnows, Rangers. Amarim's told them this week they are the worst team in the club's history. I mean, how useful that is to those players, I don't know. Maybe it'll help, but maybe it'll just take a bit of pressure off them to know that they're expected to be shite, so they can just be shite. Fulham have lost 1 of the last 10 in the league, and that was against the run of play in that game against West Ham. We mentioned they'd absolutely battered West Ham in that game, come out on the wrong side of it. They do have a lot of draws, though. But in current form, you've just got to keep opposing Man United. I mean, even Rangers got on the score sheet tonight and nearly got something. Fulham at 13-10 is a good price. But I'm actually going to take the team total over 1.5 Fulham goals at 11-10. Man United have conceded 2 or more in 6 of their last 8 games now. Plus money for Fulham to grab 2 goals against this lot. I'll take that. So yeah, pick for me. Fulham over 1.5 team total at 11-10.
Yeah, nice, Baz. Mine was short and sweet. Fulham are considerably better than Manchester United, and they're 13-10 to win the game. Fucking hell, just get involved. I watched Man United tonight. The Rangers missed 2 one-on-ones in the first 12 minutes, and then it took an own goal from the Rangers keeper in a 92nd minute winner to get Man United over the line, and that's not even a solid comp game. Man U might fluke it, they might draw, whatever. The result isn't important. The only course of action before the game is to bet Fulham. That's all you can do. Whatever, whether it's a money line, whether it's a team total, you can only bet Fulham unless you're throwing horseshoes at the moon, hoping Man United pick one up. But I'm not having that bollocks at all. So there we go, Barry. 10 games are in the hutch. Michael's gone with the Emile Smith-Rowe goal or assist at 15-8 for Fulham there. Baz, do you want to lead us off with some fancy stuff?
Yeah, so my lock is going to be the Newcastle team total over 2.5 goals at 11-10. My underdog pick is going to be Brentford to beat Palace at 23-10. I haven't got a scorer this week. I don't know why, but I've just realised I haven't. So it's generally shite anyway, so just leave it. So yeah, that's my lock on my dog.
So my lock, which, by the way, is a waste of time, remember. I've had about 5 winning weeks out of 6 here, and I don't think I've thrown a good lock out. Literally, it's just pulled one out of my hat. So I've got Liverpool to win to 0, 5-6 for my lock. My dog's been a lot better, though. I didn't have one. The nearest I've got, or I'd throw one out, is Forest. I think you have to take Forest 12-5 plus 240. That's too big. But I've got an underdog price here, Baz. I did say that Tottenham can't go a half of football without conceding, which means they've got to try and do that twice at the weekend. So Leicester to score in both halves is 100-30 plus 333. So I don't know if it counts as a dog, but it's an underdog price. So I was happy to throw that out. My anytime goal scorer, it's the revenge angle, Barry. You've already mentioned that Ben Brereton Diaz is no longer at Southampton. It's not going to stop Fabian Schär pinging one in. He wants some revenge there. 20-1, first and last, is Big Fab, or Daddy Schär, as the IT department calls him here. 13-2 plus 650, first and last. Accumulator, corned beef pie. I've got Brighton, I've got Newcastle, and I've got Fulham, which pays round about 9-2 plus 450. And for my stake in Stilton, I've got Nottingham Forest, I've got Crystal Palace, and I've got Fulham, and that pays 16-1, Bass.
Yeah, so my first ones are both teams to score. I've gone for Bournemouth and Forest, City and Chelsea, and Villa v West Ham, both teams to score treble, 7-2. My stake in Stilton is an underdog treble. It's 35-1. And all three of these underdogs are above their opponent in the league. 35-1 for Forest to beat Bournemouth, Chelsea to beat Man City, and Brentford to beat Palace. See, every one of them is above the team they're playing against. So that's got to shout that. Stick them in doubles or doubles and a treble. We'll cash a couple of those. So yeah, Forest to beat Bournemouth, Chelsea to beat City, Brentford to beat Palace is a 35-1 underdog treble for me. And then we'll go into the ladder. I've gone for Arsenal corners this week. They've hit double figures in 5 straight games now. In a game where we'll expect them to be on the front foot, you would think, against Wolves. And if they're not, then even better, because if they're chasing anything, that's when we'll see them get even more. But I was really surprised, given that they've hit double figures 5 weeks in a row, 5 games in a row, sorry. The line's at 6.5 for Arsenal corners. So over 6.5 Arsenal corners at 10-11. Over 7.5 at 8-5. Over 8.5 is 13-5. Over 9.5, 4-1. Over 10.5, 7-1. Over 11.5 is 11-1. And we'll finish with over 12.5. They've done it once in the recent weeks. 16-1 for over 12.5 corners. So yeah, Arsenal team corners against Wolves started over 6.5 and go all the way to over 12.5 at 16-1.
Yeah, they got to 10 last week, I think. The total, we had the total in Arsenal Villa, which was 11, but 10 of those were Arsenal corners. Phil Foden, anytime goal scorer for Courtney. And Michael's gone with Semenyo, Smith-Rowe and Eze. Goal or assist for all of them is 13-1. And finally, Barry, keep rolling, 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 rolling on. Keep rolling, rolling, rolling on. Hey, let biscuit at the beef, Fred Thursday. Wait.
Yeah, good theme.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a bit of a dilemma here because I've gone 2 weeks in a row. I've just gone for an over 1.5 double and two shows in a row. It's won. So it's like, do I just keep doing the same thing or do I mix it up a bit? And I've decided to do the same thing. So I've picked 2 games, 2 goals, keep it simple. Same sort of price, 2-5. So I've gone for an over 1.5 double. Southampton v Newcastle, Wolves v Arsenal. The £19.60 that we've got so far will roll up into £27.37 if that comes in. So yeah, keep rolling. Over 1.5 double. Southampton, Newcastle, Wolves v Arsenal, £19.60. Turn that into £27.37.
What's the end goal, Baz? Have you got one, or are you just going to keep going forever?
We don't.
£1 million.
There is no consideration of anything else until it gets to at least 10 times what it started. So you've got to get to 100 before you think about anything else. So we'll get to 100 and then I'll tell you what the plan is from there.
Perfect. Very good. Anything else you want to tell the people before we let them go?
No, I'm going to go have a shower because I'm sat here sweating. The inside of my body is cold, but the outside of my body is very hot. So I don't know whether I need a cold shower or a hot shower. I'll work it out when I get there.
You've got the insides of an 82-year-old, Barry. Well, thanks for your help anyway. I appreciate it. Thanks everyone who joined us in the chat. Good luck with all your picks. I am off to water my palm tree, and we'll see you down the road. Cheers.